Okay, I think we should be live. This is the first time I've done a scheduled stream like this, so let me know. Welcome, everyone. Okay. I'm just gonna check line real quick to see if people can actually see me, because they usually let me know. Never mind, they're all talking about the Mole Man fix. I'm gonna wait to really start until we see at least one person show up in chat. And that's not to say you're not there, I'm just talking about what I can see. I'm gonna try a pop out on chat again. Go ahead and refresh. There we go. There's people. All right. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Cream Cheese, Shinde, Tamil, True Potential, Nani, Madrox. Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. So, first off, did they give us a full defense? Looks like maybe not quite. Okay, that is 50. Like, obviously they didn't try that hard because it's off season, but like we can let's take a look at this and try planning as though this were the real deal. Okay, and they have realistic bands. So let's go over to our sheet. Okay, so we have to replace this with Hercules. And over here, we have to make a note of the fact that Miguel is available, because that tends to be how I do this. Right, work? Today's a good day. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Crom, Bean, Nerd, how's it going? Okay. So I'm just going to start filling these in because that is always the first thing to do. You'll see my excellent typesmanship here. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So obviously we're already seeing repeats. This is one of the things about an off-season defense. Oops. So I'll catch up on chat in a second, but I'm just going to get all of these plugged in. So what I'm appreciating while going through this is that while this defense was probably not explicitly set up because it is off season, you are seeing a fair number of meta placements, and even the weird ones have some logic to them. So it's probably just that person placed them in that spot because they thought it was a good idea, even if the officer didn't chime in. So I think this actually is going to be a pretty good planning model. Okay. Hey, Martin, thanks so much. Really appreciate it, Crom. Jane looking like she's getting a decent upgrade. Okay, so when I'm gonna try and focus on this because it is the point of the stream, but I'm definitely gonna take a look at the Jane update before we're done here. Hey, Mad Dog. I know, Madrox. This is the best part, isn't it? Okay, so the next thing that I tend to do is scroll around and go backwards and try and check for rank fours and for the tactic. So generally, we click here to look for rank fours against an alliance like NXS. That part's actually pretty freaking difficult. But I'm just assuming that that's a rank four thing. Um, I'm assuming that the rest of these are rank threes, both from memories that I have of PI and also because nobody takes a super scroll to rank four unduped. And therefore, because they're all close in PI, that's what I'm going off of. So I'm assuming that the boss is a rank four and that no one else is. And I just italicize rank fours. And then for literally everyone else except Modoc, they all have the tactic. So, whoops, this is what that looks like. And then we back up a little bit. We go over here. Mojo and Sorcerer both have the tactic. The Doom is almost certainly rank 4 because Dooms are always rank 4, so we go ahead and italicize that. And no other obvious rank 4s. In the center, the Surfer is of course rank 4. And then 1, 2, 3 have the Global. Another rank 4 Surfer, of course, as it is NXS. And then Surfer and these have the Global. Kitty has the Global. Is it a rank 4 Kitty? We'll check real quick, but probably? No, actually, it looks like this one isn't. But I've also noticed the PI of 22 and 23 tends to be about 10,000 higher than 24, 25, and 26, just as something to keep in mind. Backing up, Ragthor is rank 4, and Mysterio and Tigra have the Global. Sorcerer, of course, has the Global. Tigra has the Global, and... I'm going to show you what I'm looking at here. Sorry, I'm not used to using two monitors on this one just yet. So the PI for this is kind of weird because Doom is clearly rank 4 and therefore Tiger's rank 4. But then we're looking at some of these others, and I'm pretty sure I remember Seriously specifically as a rank 4 null, and then yeah, the Omega Sentinel shows up in his profile. So yep, that's a lot of rank 4s. That's kind of what we expect from NXS. But then does that mean that the sorcerer is also rank 4? Like it can be tough to tell sometimes, but you just kind of do your best. Then we head back up to the top one, Sasquatch, and nobody else has the global. And that's about the information we can take away. The thing might be rank 4. All right, I'm going to check some stuff again. Planning without coffee? I had coffee earlier. 1 p.m. here. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Madrox. Thanks so much, Shibby. Thank you for this super chat. Hey, BT, how's it going? Oh, actually, that's a very good point, Shibby, because I remembered about this during the season, but this is a great time to talk about it. Because actually, you can always definitively check to see if somebody is a rank 4 or not. Because if we click on Apocalypse here, and then we go to Defender abilities, it doesn't explicitly tell us if he's a rank 4 or not, but it does say how much health he gets from his SIG ability, and that does not scale with the node. And so, one second. If we go to Aunt May, and it shows, oh, I'm gonna have to make this slightly smaller. Sorry. But if we go to Aunt May and it shows more healing than that, then that proves conclusively this is a rank 3, not a rank 4. So that can be a useful tool. And you can do that with basically anything, like any of the green numbers. So if we scroll down, if you get to the heavy attacks, you can check the bleed damage. If you get to the special attacks, you can check the burst damage, how strong the poison is. Anywhere there is a green number, you can do this. So like with iHulk, and it has to be a raw green number. These percentages don't help, but we scroll down and you get how much attack gain bonus he gets based on lost health. That will work. Thing I'm trying to remember. Does he have any of these? Yes. So you still have the resistance and the extra attack. There's almost always something that you can look at in the kit. It is, yeah, it is kind of weird that it doesn't just flat out tell you when you click that it's a rank 4, given that the information is there, but maybe Kabam Zero adds that in the future. Yeah, Mad Dog. It is a bit of all of that. It's to indicate that it may be a longer fight. It often means that they're at higher SIG level than they might be at rank 3. So sometimes that can come up. It's not going to matter for like Apocalypse, right? But if you're facing a Super Scroll or a Sasquatch and you're facing a rank 4, at least for now, this will kind of go away as people get more rank 4s. But this last season, if I saw a rank 4 Super Scroll, I assumed Sig 200, and therefore that meant a much stronger power gain. And so that factored into the fight. Because that's also why you notice that I marked the Super Scroll unduped, because it's such a big part of how the fight works. Hey, Meta, how's it going, man? And yes, it's also a longer fight. It's also the fact that rank 4s gain power slightly faster defensively than rank 3s do, so you have to be prepared for slightly more specials. Obviously, this isn't really going to matter if you're doing like a nuke fight with, Corvus, Nick, Moleman, or something. But if you're doing more of a controlling fight, then remembering that they gain more power, that they crit more, that basically you just have to play a little more cautiously and you have a few fewer safeguards, all of that stuff matters. You can work backwards if you divide by their attack modifier, Christian. You're correct. But I find that since I always have Aunt May up when I'm planning anyway, checking the green numbers is just faster. And there's a lot less room for error because it's either is it the same or is it not? Because Aunt May defaults to rank 4s. And so basically, if the number is the same, it's a rank 4. If it's lower, it's a rank 3. Hey, Dante, how's it going? Ooh, that's very cool, BT. I'm still working on Omega Sentinel myself. Okay, so now just to familiarize everybody with the outlay of this sheet, if you have not watched my planning video, over here we have key attackers. Those with the green text are those that get the current attack tactic. So right now, that's all of our Defiance attackers. And then I have next to them all of the various people with that champion at rank 3 or higher. Um, the exception to that is Quake and Magic. For those, I specifically just put down the players that are really comfortable using them in war, especially Quake. Like, I kind of assume without looking, all 10 of our players have a rank 5 65 Quake. But these are the ones who I asked around, and they specifically told me, yes, I'm comfortable quaking in more. Hey, Jesse, how's it going, man? Yeah, adapted a couple things about it, but it's a classic. You did good work, and I have not seen any reason to change it. Campo adapted it and changed the color scheme for BG1 as well this last season. And I appreciate that he changed the color scheme because he would post it and like it was instantly obvious it was a different BG, but it was still like that layout I was used to. Yeah, so we do that for all the classes, and you'll notice that I often include some questionable attackers. Like, how often do you assign Gambit? So far, I haven't assigned him at all, but I've assigned Iceman more than once. And so, like, I just like keeping track of those weird rank 3s, even the ones we don't have. We don't have Vision right now, but that may change in the future. And then certain champions you want to keep in mind whether they're duped or not. So, like for Jabari, that has the counterpunch. So you don't want to say, oh, go use Jabari, take advantage of the counterpunch to get a free intercept if that person's Jabari isn't duped. And then Cap, obviously the Sig matters, so we mark that. Guardian, the Sig matters, so we mark that. Ultron, the Sig matters, etc. And then Bold over here is rank 4s, which you probably guessed. And then down here, as we go, we fill in the teams and whether we have assigned them a path in tier 1 or 2 or both. So odd to see real names. Yeah. I customized it a little bit to be different than our actual BG and not have exactly the same rank ups, but the name thing was funny. How much Moleman will I assign given the changes? Probably almost exactly as much, Triple U. At least in tier 1, you don't assign Moleman for the bug of him being able to bypass auto block and evade while in frenzy. Like there are obviously a few fights where it can come up if you fight spam a certain way, if you fight Modoc a certain way, but most of those fights are very winnable without frenzy. And for the most part, people are assigning Moleman for the shrug and for the fact that he has guaranteed crits on unblockable special twos that have a ridiculous synergy with power back boosts. And none of that changed. Nice, Dante. House of X really likes his awakened ability, so that's a good pull in my opinion. Yeah, exactly work. He doesn't get assigned because of the bug. Yeah, man, I love this sheet. We've had some others over the years, but this is just the one that makes the most sense to me. It confuses clown, but I prefer it. Hey, Sibro, and thanks for playing. How's it going? Yeah, I've been asked to do this multiple times, and it's always weird because like if you do it with a real defense and with your actual players in the middle of a season, you can end up giving a little bit too much away. And I gotta admit, there's part of me that's potentially embarrassed because I'm not a perfect planner, and so you're probably going to see mistakes. But with SSX taking next season off with the 2K subs, I feel like it made sense. It was time. Thanks so much, Infamous. One second. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna close the door because my bedroom is now my office, and I don't want to be obnoxious to my family. Okay. So with that, we should probably go ahead and get started. Yeah, pretty much, Mad Dog. Like, we're still doing 3 BG Wars. Sorry, one sec. We're still doing 3 BG Wars. We're still going for 100% map completion. We're still doing map 8 all the time. Um, and I will still be doing war vids. Don't worry, Asmatosh. It's just that we're kind of tired. We had a fair number of people retire to take breaks, and we don't blame them at all. Some of it is explicitly for summer, and we expect them to come back. Some of them have just had their fill of tier one, but it was a lot of turnover all at once. And we specifically lost Campo, one of our main planners, and so that left us pretty much down to me and Nerd. And I'm starting a new job next week where I will not be available during normal planning hours. And Nerd has just been planning a lot, pretty much nonstop, even since before he got to SSX. And so both of us just kind of wanted to not deal with that. So we're going to allow people to kind of crowdsource their fights. We're still going to talk through them. We're still going to try and learn. I'm going to flat out tell people, if you intend to use this season to prove to me that, let's use one in particular, because like if Meta and Dot are intending to use this season to prove to me that Spider Ham can take a fight, then they have to actually solo the fights, right? Like, I need to see realistic things. I don't want to see like, well, you can imagine with the boosts and other stuff, it would be fine. I realize that's kind of tough, but it's just we're gonna be learning things. But it should be a lot easier on the planners and a bit lower stress for everyone. And now that there are those cheap 40% revives, we should be able to do this without failing to clear the map. Yeah, it also means because some of our recruits are a bit new to tier 1, gives them a bit of time to get used to, oh god, that's what 5 points in Mystic Dispersion and maxed Stand Your Ground feels like. I'm going to have to reevaluate without it costing us the season. Yeah, I miss Campo too. I think we probably will land Platinum 1, yeah, triple. And it's possible that we might push in 1 or 2 wars if we need to, because we do want to hold on to the tier 1 multiplier. But we'll kind of see what happens. I'm not terribly worried about it. Oh, don't even triple. We're not shelling. We're actually accepting the consequences of fewer rewards and our war rating dropping. Or fewer rewards from our war rating dropping. Don't compare us to shells, it's not the same. Yeah, nerd, I'm down. So easy. I can actually hold on. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to take a quick hiatus because I didn't have energy earlier, and I need to finish my AQ lane real quick. What was I saying? Oh, but I do have a template easy that I don't really know how to show you. But basically, it's just I'm gonna expect everyone to call dibs this season. So like before you join, pick your path and go like, all right, I'll take 2A, including node 20, and then I will take node 23, but not node 22. I won't have an answer for node 26. I will take 8B. I will take 47, and then I'll take this mini boss. And, I'm not going to micromanage it. So if we end up at a spot where, nobody brings a strong counter to node 53 and we have to 40% revive our way through it that war and we learn a lesson, that's fine. Basically, the important things are just to make sure we have counters to the healing nodes, but I'm not really worried about that in this season of Defiance. It's going to be really hard for somebody to get brick walled by buffet while that's a thing. Nerd going for zero fights. Yeah, man. I understand completely what you said, where it's like you don't necessarily mind planning, but then actually doing the fights is a chore. I have felt that way before. It's okay, Triple. I probably overreacted slightly to the comparison there. I do get what you were saying. No offense taken long term. I hate this surfer so much. Thank you. Okay. Vigilance helps. Just signed on to see if you could check on AQ. Hey, clown. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I did mean to do this before things came up, but I ended up messing with like um oh come on, throw your heavy, you colossal jerk. Basically to get a second monitor set up. Hey, true potential. Yeah, this is AQ, but AQ is a team sport, so we need to make sure it goes down. Thank you. All right, now please throw your heavy or your special two, that thing. Okay, that'll do. Thanks so much for being a member, Crom. I appreciate it. How's it going, Cyber? Your lawn was strike counter. He's annoying, Triple for sure. Yeah, that is the one part about the fight that I enjoy, Madrox. I swear Penny's getting faster at recovering from her heavy. Really ticks me off. She loves her heavies. Oh, I should have thrown a heavy before that. That's on me. Yeah, there are a couple that are really quick triple for sure. Um, what I'm thinking of specifically is that like I've had Penny dex out of the second hit of my heavy with Venom Pool when the first one hit. And like that should I think it should be obvious to everyone. That should never freaking happen. Ah, that almost always lands fine, and this time it took me a little too far. That's fine. But yeah, Guillotine 2099 in particular has always had one of the fastest get up times in the entire game. It has a lot of consequences. Yeah, I did see Mole Man's getting fixed, and I'm very happy about it. So he'll still be one of the best skill champions in the game, which is what I've been saying for years. But he will actually have some trade offs to him now, and that's a good thing. How's it going, Finn? I don't want anyone else in the BG to have to revive to take this, so I'm playing a little more carefully than I could. Especially because, as I've said, um, she's been doing some crazy stuff getting around my heavies. So while I could probably have gotten the shield down early, it just hasn't felt worth it lately. You also notice against Odin, because he's not power burn immune, I tend to I tend to bait the special two because he can just block it. With Venom Bull, I do tend to bait the special one, but I will take this opening here because it'll get the bleed in. And there we go. Slow and steady. Where am I using the Sakurai? On lane 2 in section 1, the polka dot power heavy interrupter one. He works fantastic for it. I forget why I died. Oh, I think I used him on like long shot or something. I got wrecked later. Okay, back to war. Thank you all for your patience. I should have been able to do that beforehand. Yeah, I've seen that with She-Hulk too, Triple. I'm wondering if that's who you're dealing with, but yeah. After the first hit of a heavy, the second one should never be resisted in my personal opinion. But at least that one you can kind of argue. No, I really don't think you can. They shouldn't have time to block in between. It's the same way they shouldn't have time to dex in between. And I see Crom discovered the sig or the stickers. I appreciate that. Yeah, the inventory space increase is amazing. I'm so happy about that. Let's go, J Will. Okay. So let's head back over here. And I almost always start at the bottom. So in this, you are definitely going to probably run into my personal prejudices. I'm going to recommend things for bosses that you might, or for fights in general, you might disagree with. To a certain extent, let's try and run with that. If you want to suggest alternates, that's totally fine. You can definitely ask, why don't I just use someone else here? Sometimes I may have, a real answer, and sometimes I just may not have thought of it. We all have our blind spots. So I'm just saying ahead of time, let's try and keep this really collaborative. So starting off on that, my first instinct for a thing boss is Void. iBomb can do it. Spider-Man 2099 can do it. Black Cat is amazing for it. I have not had a Black Cat in my BG yet. Void to me is just the safest. Like, Tigra can also do it. Again, I start with Void knowing those other options exist because I feel like it is the most foolproof. She-Hulk versus Mangog and Maw. Yeah. I've definitely had it happen against Maw. Will you shout at us like Gordon Ramsay if you make suggestions? I will do everything in my power not to. I do sometimes get testy. I'm well aware of that about myself, but hopefully we can just keep this fun. Falcon can also do it for sure, Crom. The reason I like Void is just he kind of strikes that happy medium of being reliably able to do damage, not having anything that actively works against you with rock stacks. He's tanky, so if you do get hit, it's fine. His move set lines up well against Thing, and it just works out well. You like Hercules? I'm sure there's a way, like there is a way to work that out so that you don't deal with protection, but that just to me that seems like forcing Herc where you don't necessarily need to. Void isn't quick, but he's very, very safe, and you're not gonna time out with him. Like we've sent rank 3 Void against rank 4 Thing multiple times, never been that close to a timeout. Spider-Man 2099 basically can't die, but he can time out. I think unless you have a good Black Cat user, Void is just my personal favorite. And yeah, that's true. Hercules is banned, as he very often is. Hear you out, spam. You are welcome to try it, but you're never going to convince me that that's safer than Void specifically for this. Herc doesn't trigger protection ever? That sounds wrong. I'm pretty sure if you throw those cruelties up, he triggers protection. If he doesn't, it has to be bugged. Oh, why not Falcon? I forget. I guess I didn't really get into that. My main reason is that Falcon, while he turns off rock stacks, while he turns off protection, while he turns off adaptive, and he does decent damage, his damage isn't insane on the boss node because there's no evasion. And so you still have to really do the fight. And that means that it's easy. in my opinion, for anyone who's not perfectly executing with Falcon to get backed up while they're waiting for Locked On to come back and get heavied in the corner and die. I have seen it happen more than once. I've also seen it done successfully. I think that Nagato in BG2 did it several times this season with Falcon. So, like, I'm not saying that it's not safe. Void is just my personal preference. And for the boss in particular, you can almost always fit your preference. But if I thought that maybe we were going to have trouble getting Void there this war, then that's what this column over here is for alternates or things like that. And I could easily put like Falcon, Ivon. Because you could also take Super Scroll with Falcon. Hey, Zero. Thanks for hanging out. I just got a pop up from Google. Now would be a good time to insert ads. You're probably right, but I don't want to do that right now, YouTube. Thank you. That does make sense, Triple. Bands very much color these things. Because along those lines, Quake would be a very easy answer to Super Scroll since she's available, and you probably wouldn't be used to that. I mean, an unduped Super Scroll should be quite simple. Quake is probably the easiest here, but like Rolk or Diablo, there are several options here. Even Iceman would be pretty safe if you wanted to do that. But yeah, I'm putting down Quake because that just kind of turns it off. Oh, for sure, triple. Like I'm saying, I'm not surprised that there's a way for Hurt to get around it. I just consider Void very, very safe. Grimly adds. That's hilarious. Hey, Chris. Yeah, the blacklists definitely may lead to more Hurt bans. We'll see. Okay. So for Modoc, again, another place that you could use Herc if he wasn't banned. But for me, I see that and I instantly think Killmonger or Mole, don't really care which. It's a very safe fight with Killmonger, and Killmonger and Void make a good team. Um, it's not the most vanilla fight in the world for Mole, but Nerd has shown us at SSX how to do that one safely, and so I have no qualms sending that. That's also something where it's like when I'm planning, if I haven't taken a specific fight and I see something in the node that makes it a little bit not standard, I will often go into the officer chat and say, "Hey, does anyone have a video of this? Have we sent this?" Because even if I think it's a good idea, even if I think it sounds safe, I like to double check myself. Sasquatch on 50, ton of options. I've taken it with, like, you can do that with Spider Man 2099 because he is available. He would be great for that. But there's enough options for that that I'm actually going to start over here. That's what I tend to do. So Miguel works. You could do it with Reed, it would just be slow. I-Bomb works great. She Hulk works. The other one that comes to mind is actually Joe. And Joe matters quite a bit on that node because it's not uncommon for us to send Kingpin to Super Scroll or to anyone else on 49. And so if you can send Joe to Sasquatch and Kingpin to Scroll, then that's an easy double right there where you don't have to worry about coordination. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Zero. I Does this help at all? No, it doesn't. It's just like zoomed in too much. No, that doesn't help. That makes it too small for me and not better for you. Why? Thank you for saying something. Ah, there's the issue. Hold on. hold on. That seems pretty close, but it's a little too wide. Sorry, futzing. Okay, that looks pretty close. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. Yes, zero is Kabam. If you like the quality of update or quality of life updates recently, you should at least partially thank zero. Yeah, I wish like I totally get why there aren't cheap AQ revives dot because like their completion actually is the goal as opposed to war where completion is a given and efficient completion is the goal. But yeah, it would be nice. Okay. So for Mangog over here, Miguel is unbanned, so that's definitely an option. You can also use Omega Red, you can use Doom, you can use Magic with Purgatory, but Strands and myself have taken that so many times between the two of us at this point that I just put Miguel Reed and I move on. Miska Van Bartholomew. That was a trip. All right. So moving on. Um, let's see. There are a number of counters for Maw, but what I feel like is the safest is still House of X or um, Cap with House of X. There are a number of different ways you can do that. You can do that with Falcon as well. Honestly, you could do it extremely carefully with somebody like iBomb. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I have done it with Killmonger, but it's very difficult. You could do it with Professor X, but Cap with House of X is my favorite there. And then we're just gonna put out to the side like that mutant skill mystic mark because that's for us to remember that those classes are acceptable on this team, but we cannot have science, tech, or cosmic because then Cap will trigger conflictor. And then for Mordo, we can do the same Cap, and I'll just put that there, but then that can also easily be Killmonger or like Reed, Miguel, as long as we have some other House of X with those two. Wonder how Rolk would do. Probably pretty darn good. The issue with Rolk against 51 in particular, in my mind, is the prowess puncture more than anything else. Because he handles the conflictor, but usually when you're nuking with Rolk, you want to do a lot of like actual full combos for maximum damage. And I had my Professor X literally die from 85% to zero, blocking one of Maw's special twos in an off-season war. Yeah. So I do fear that prowess puncture a little bit. Yeah, I also wish that it defaulted to on Cromwell and that you had to explicitly turn Defiance off. I had that happen to me in an off-season war as well. Who do we assign for Maw 22? Tons of options on 22 because it doesn't really help him. Like almost literally anybody with Defiance is fine. Like Killmonger, Miguel, Reed, Captain America is definitely one of the easiest. Funnily enough, the hardest counter to Maw on 22 would actually be Ronan because he can parry projectiles, and so you can just very easily knock him down. And there you go. I do fully buy Sasquatch, Spider Pig for Sasquatch on 50 dot. That one I have no objection to. Take care, Dot. Hey, Fel, how's it going? Yeah, the House of X is helpful on 51, but I'm also fully assuming that when Nerd's suggesting that, he's suggesting baiting heavies and throwing your own heavies when you can. If it lines up after Maw's heavy, cool. That's where I would go and do a duel specifically to test that, but definitely throwing the heavy after Maw's special one. Yeah, shrugging the falter is absolutely amazing, which Ronan can do as well. But that's yeah. I actually regret not assigning Ronan for Maw at one point this season because it would have lined up perfectly, but that's okay. You can't go back and get those. So let's see. For now, I'll just go ahead and pencil in I-Bomb here. But we have a lot of options there. Mojo on 47 is basically any Defiance Miguel. But you could also use Spider Ham there. That is one that I would not complain about. Yeah, that's fair enough, Phil. I'll catch you later, man. Bishop on 45. Like, normally there's somebody here that actually forces you to use someone, but since there's not someone there, we have a bit more freedom. So, because we don't have to deal with one eye open, this could very easily be Quake. Like, that's probably the simplest answer, but we have also done this with Nebula. I'm probably going to mess that up. Nebula, Nimrod, Ultron, any of them are totally fine for that. But I'm going to go ahead and throw Quake in there because we already looked at a mini boss where Quake might make sense, and that's just easy peasy. Nova over here, Doom is the safest and easiest option to path. When I say safe, I mean safe because you can throw him anywhere else. But like this would also be a very easy fight for like Venom Pool, or you wouldn't use Odin. You could use Claire, that would be fine. I wouldn't recommend Sigil Witch. And you can use a ton of different people with Odin pre-fights, but mainly, especially because there's nobody particularly difficult on the second one, this is probably just going to be a Doom fight because he can't be armor broken. It's very difficult for Nova to crit on him, if it's even possible. Let's go check real quick. Because that's another thing to do while planning. Is, all right, where's Nova's crit rate? There it is. Probably not possible. So Nova's crit rate is 658. I'm pretty sure that is lower than Doom's crit resistance. Yep. So Nova literally can't crit on Doom. Doom can eat the special 3. That's why that's so stupid safe. Sorry, 1 second, Biswas. So you said Mr. Fantastic can take Thing on Path 1, Section 2, first fight? She-Hulk would be easier. You could do it with Reed. She-Hulk would definitely be easier. Hey, not no, we're still starting out. I'm talking through an awful lot of things, maybe more than I need to. So Doom here on 26. The paths are often the thing, but the minis are something that you want to make sure that you're ready for before you do the others. And Doom on 26 to me is either Apocalypse with 4 charges or I-Bomb. And personally, I kind of prefer I-Bomb because it's just easier to path. And then the question becomes, do we go ahead and use I-Bomb here on Sorcerer? And I don't think so. I think that kinetic transference makes it just slightly too annoying. But because he has Defiance, you definitely could. So I'll mark it over here as I-Bomb, the same way that I will mark this as Apocalypse. And then I'll put over here who I would prefer to send is probably Reed or Miguel. Because that would be super easy for both of them. Take care, Phil. Miguel for Doom can work, but he's not my favorite. It's just because he doesn't actually turn on or turn off the aura, and so you end up dodging a lot. It absolutely works. I've seen it work. But I-Bomb just kind of hard counters that fight. I really like him for it. Kitty for Doom I would not assign, Christian. Like I know that that technically works, but that would be something. Kitty for a fight that dangerous is something that I would have to be forced into by other paths. Because we've all seen Legacy's videos. We know what Kitty's ceiling is. But it's important to remember that if you're not taking risks, she's not actually that quick. And therefore, that's a lot of time in a fight with a relatively fragile champion. And if you mess things up, if you don't have enough room to actually dash and activate the phase, it can get ugly. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Nah, I did it with Apocalypse earlier. It's a very, very good fight. The only reason I've put I-Bomb here is that Apocalypse does require getting to 4 charges to feel safe for me, and I-Bomb can just walk up to it. Okay, so moving on here, number of different options for this Sasquatch. Again, you could Quake it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that given all the things about him. Um, Miguel with anti-venom would work quite well here because you'd be reversing kinetic transference and therefore could get around Footloose by just avoiding the special ones. And then you throw a bunch of heavies, and the exhaustion keeps him from going into Wrath of Tanarak. So Miguel might even be best here. But then you can also definitely do this with She Hulk, and there are other options for sure. You can do that one with Cap as well. It's just going to take longer. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Cap suggested. I promise you, Miguel with anti-venom is easier for that fight than Cap and Sam is, but that would definitely work. Okay, so Claire over here, when Quake is available, I prefer to put Quake for that. There are other options. I've seen it done with Kingpin. I've seen it done many times with Thing. That's quite safe. If you're willing to play around the unblockable, you can basically use anyone with Defiance. That I don't know, Mad Dog, honestly. And then Yondu here is an interesting one. To me, that reads as a Corvus trap. Because if you're going, oh, cool, an easy tech champion, let me use Corvus. Well, Corvus is almost always going to be running recoil. And so the first time that you throw a special, you're going to get a weakness on yourself, even if you're only running one and not the other. Because if you start with full recoil, then he's going to be unblockable the whole fight. If you run in there with only one or the other, the first time you throw a special, you get a weakness on you, and now you're at two, or now you're at three debuffs, and you don't have a way to cleanse the heal block. I'm sure a careful Corvus player would still be fine getting this charge, but that's what that reads to me as, and so I would be a little careful with that. You could Quake him as well. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Um, Beyond that, Colossus would actually be very good there. Colossus tends to annoy me, and I know that you can lose the armors and all that, but just the ability to be immune to both bleed and armor break makes that help. Yeah, Shang-Chi definitely works. Agreed, Crom. I haven't been sending Shang-Chi much lately, though, because most of the time you want to play him using the heavy, and the precision you get from the heavies is just kind of dangerous with Mystic Dispersion, and especially against Claire. Yeah, exactly, Zero. It would be nice to have that rank just a quick thing that you could mouse over. Yeah, no, you could definitely use Horseman Archangel for Sorcerer, agreed. No, it doesn't really zero. It's just I tend not to send people who send these people unblockable just in case. Because like you can technically do the same for Claire and just counter her specials. For somebody like iBomb, you can do that as well. But if you can avoid the fight going unblockable, I prefer it. But I'll just put that off to the side because I'm not really worried about that one. Surfer here, Hercules would be great if he were unbanned. You got plenty of options, but especially with House of X here, this feels like they're trying to bait a Doom and then make him a little harder to take out. So let's see. You have a bunch of options there. Cap would work fine for both, and that could be something that you end up doing. Because especially if this lane 4 were more difficult, you could end up sending Cap for Sasquatch, and then also for Surfer and House of X. But notice that every time you send Cap with somebody like Sam for Sasquatch, that Cap can now not go to 51 because we're trying not to have debuffs for that one. But you could potentially send a different Cap to these two. And so maybe if you send Miguel to 25, see, this is where having ranked House of X's comes in handy. Because one thing that you could potentially do is you could have, what am I trying to say? I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. But basically, what I'm thinking is this could just be Cap plus House of X straight up. And then you could give that person also a skill champion to purify the armor breaks from Surfer, and then that could also be your person for 48 and 51. Although now you're running out of House of X's, and so that's why you might end up sending somebody else over here because I've done this fight with House of X himself, and I've done this fight with House of X himself. And this one would use the pre-fight, and Jabari actually wouldn't because it's Hard Knock Life. So you could have somebody coming off of 38 with 4 pre-fights. Petrify's limit conflictor, but only to a point, Christian. It's like just I don't think that it's really I don't think it's worth it. You're just feeding him too much. Take care, Elsie. I'm not surprised to hear that it works, Mad Dog. I've just if you can send that without tech, I think that's always safer than sending it with tech. The only reason that I would send this fight on 51 with a tech champion on the team is if there was only space for me to send one cap and I needed the armor break. So like if I was sending cap with the armor break for Killmonger, if that was my only option for Killmonger, then I would be like, fine, I'll also send Sam so that he can take Sasquatch and he can mitigate things with Maul. That would be how I would end up at that. But my first thought for this Killmonger is it's probably going to be Omega Red. But you could also definitely use Namor. You could use Doom with House of X. You could use Corvus. There are a lot of options these days. You could use Gambit. Not that I recommend that. And yes, I'm planning attack. You could also do both of these fights here with Doom, by the way. Because then if you were going to use a Doom with Reed on the team for Killmonger, then that lines up nicely. How long does planning take you? It depends on the war, and it depends on if I'm doing other things at the same time. Sometimes I have to go walk away from planning and come back. But I definitely don't talk through quite this much. But I might also be doing like duels. I might be talking to other people as I go. I think my average is probably in between 90 minutes and 2 hours. Okay, so moving over here, easiest thing for Surfer here is Horseman Archangel. You can also very easily do it with Omega Red. We've sent Thing to it. Yeah, there are a few different options. You can do it with Claire, although that's not my favorite there. If I can send a Nimrod to this Weapon X, I'm going to. Invisible Woman there means nothing because she's not going to trigger Chitinous Thorns, so this is probably going to be Mole Man or Killmonger. And actually, Killmonger would be my favorite over Mole Man because he has Defiance. Hey, PPG, how's it going? Screen isn't crisp. Um, is anyone else having that issue? Because I'm not entirely sure what I can do on that. What was I not supposed to let meta here? It would be nice if officers got paid, but really just a planning period would fix almost everything. It would make it so that more officers were actually available in the first place. It would make it less stressful on the ones that you have working. Any of that would be fine. Okay, thanks, Madrox. Okay. So, like I said, we often take a look at the minis first. I haven't necessarily been sticking to that rule, but here we go. So, Punisher 99 here, you could Quake this. That's the problem with leaving Quake unbanned is that if you're facing an alliance that's really confident with Quake, they're going to Quake everything they possibly can. And so I would not be at all surprised to see somebody Quake Punisher 99, then also Miles, and then use somebody like Doom for Jabari here. That'd be super simple. Very vanilla. But I do think that Reed would be quite safe for Punisher here because, yes, if he throws a special one and you block all of the hits, it's going to burn up Bubble Shield. But the way suppression works, like I've taken a rank 4 Apocalypse on this node and he's gained, I think, I think I've done it and he hasn't even gained 3 bars of power before, or he's just gained 3 bars, and that's Apocalypse who's a lot tankier than Punisher 2099. So I think that if you're careful with this, Reed would handle this really, really well and better than most other Defiance characters. But just going to put out to the side here, you could definitely do this with Doom or Quake. Oh, the Gambit bit. Hey, I did say you could send it. The problem is just where else would you send Gambit along this, right? He'd be okay for Jabari, but you'd kind of need House of X on the team anyway. Like, that's the thing. If you had a ranked Gambit and not a ranked House of X, you could use Gambit with House of X for Annihilus and then Gambit with House of X for Jabari. It would make Nerd twitch because he's told me before he's scared of eating Annihilus' specials here with the superior specials problem. But otherwise, it would be great. Oh, you'd rather I zoom in a little bit more, Crom? Let's see. I can do this. Punisher 2099 is a Doom cycle trap? Well, you don't cycle it. That's the thing, Mad Dog. Like, yeah, this node in general can be a trap if you Doom cycle it. But if you play Doom a bit more freely, I don't see I don't see a rank 4 Doom dying there if you know what you're doing. No Nebs for 24? Nah, I don't think that's necessary. Like you could do it the same way that you do Apocalypse, dexing to build up Burden of Might charges. But the thing about using Nebula there is when she's doing it for Apocalypse, you want to trigger EMP mod to get your shock charges, right? Which means that you want them to throw special ones. With Apocalypse, you tend to block one of the hits, or sorry, two of the hits of his special. That's kind of the safe way most people do it, which means that you can get around Bubble Shield like 5 times. Where is he? I know the alphabet. Penny Parker, Punisher. There it is. With Punisher 2099, this first hit almost never hits, but then you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits, which means that you have to be at 0, 1, or 2 hits on Bubble Shield to block that safely. That is so much worse. So much worse than Apocalypse with 2 hits. So I would not recommend Nebula there, no. Yeah, that's fair, Mad Dog. And that would be an important thing to note. Like if I put Doom here, then I would put in parentheses, don't cycle, right? So that is a good call. Do I have an Omega Red player in the BG? Not a rank 4, but Clown's still here. He's very comfortable with him. 28 Annihilus is terrifying. See, I've taken him with House of X, and I think I even got hit once and didn't have a problem. Maybe I just didn't get hit. But yeah, I don't share your fear there yet. Maybe we'll get there. Wow, Slay, throwing shade at Clown over here. Oh, took Annias with Omega Red? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Anyway, so moving on. When I see Miles on strike counter, because this one is not under pressure, like I said earlier, you could absolutely quake this. Um, you could do this very quickly with Nick. There's a strategy that Nerd likes using with Power Start 1 and eating a combo so that you can get the miss counter up right away. Probably the hardest counter to it is just Professor X. It's quite safe for that. You just need to make sure that you get a heavy counter in against the wall off the bat, but then you're good to go. It's pretty easy. Or you can, of course, just use Archangel. It is Hard Knock Life, but Miles has a small enough health pool that the odds of Archangel not taking him out before that becomes a problem are pretty darn slim. Oh, I just thought you were putting LOL for when I said Clown is comfortable with Omega Red Slay. So never mind. I take that back. What's wrong with using the Doom cycle for node 24? So, two things. In general, you have to be careful if you have too many buffs on you for node 24. And so if you try and cycle with Doom and you get that's funny, nerd. Um so if you try and stack Furies and get like 2 Furies going, then it will actually slow down your combat power rate and mess with the cycle. But what Mad Dog was calling out is that a duped Punisher 2099 stops you from getting your special 3 because he will power drain you and then lock you just below that. And so if you have taken a lot of hits and spent a lot of capital trying to get to the special 3 with the explicit purpose of using that to control his power, you may now be locked at a special 2 without a Fury, without it being unblockable, and you may have pushed Punisher 2099 to his special 2, probably having crossed 2 or 3 bars of power by the time he gets there. And so now he's going to throw his special 2 into your block and it's going to hurt, even for Doom. So that's, I'm pretty sure that's what Mad Dog was calling out there. Okay, so Miles on 1, um, like freaking anyone. That's not a meta placement. Nick is the first thing that comes to mind, but you could easily use like Killmonger, you could use Reed. The whole thing about having Miles as a defender is you want to force the opponent to use specials, and on node 30, you just don't. There is a certain amount of that. Nah, yes, Doom is stupid. All right, and then Havoc on 40. That's almost always going to be Warlock. Like, even with Buffet, you're going to get the infection up. You're going to get your armor back. It's not a problem. Yeah. You could also use, like, one of the visions here and try and avoid the buffet happening at all. But I really think that the safest way to do this is just with Warlock and make sure that you dex and have the dex eaten by buffet so that you get your armor up, and then the rest of the fight is simple. And for Jabari, wouldn't really worry about it, but like Professor X could also take that. You could do it with Archangel, but I'm just assuming there's probably going to be like a Doom over here that'd be simple, or Omega Red, same as with this. Because it's not that hard to send an Omega Red team with Professor X or Archangel. So let's move on for now. Um, I will say that as I'm doing this, if I run into something like this Surfer, and I'm like, okay, I want a Captain America here. We only have a couple of them. Or like for this Doom, if I have I Bomb, then if I go over here and I'm looking and I see, um, let's just say for giggles that Maria is our only rank 4 I Bomb. Because like I now have Meta in the BG and he has a rank 4 I Bomb. Well, if Maria's our only rank 4 I Bomb and I want one to take out this Doom, then I'm going to go ahead and say, before I even finish the rest of the plan, Maria's the one doing that. And then also has a rank 4 Doom, so Maria and Maria. And then we just say, okay, we needed anyone with Defiance doing that. I-Bomb will be fine. So now we put Maria is definitely bringing I-Bomb and Doom and has a tier 2 path. So that's how I do that. Omega Red can take 31 miles? Yeah, that definitely makes sense, Slay. So, like, maybe that's what we do. Maybe we do Omega Red, Omega Red, Omega Red, right? Nothing wrong with that. And so, who do I have down for that? Rhea. Okay. Some of you are going to be able to make assumptions about who these names used to be before I change some stuff. All right, so that one's set. So Priya takes Omega Red, Sabretooth, has a tier 2 path. Hey, Vega, thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so for node 22 and node 23, both of these are just Nimrod. Like, I've taken the Kitty, I've taken the Domino in separate wars. If you're going to line them up right next to each other, it's not going to be hard. I am going to go ahead and note that I would prefer this have Invuln and Petrify. Like, so both the Invulnerability boost and Reed's Petrify debuff, but it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah. Domino is going to hurt, but you can probably survive 2 or 3 special threes there with Nimrod if you're staying on top of your parries. No, Slay, I don't think it's bad. No toad assignments yet. We just may get there. Anyway. They actually don't have a single nick on defense, do they? Huh. Oh well. Omega Sentinel is good there as well? Yeah, I could buy that for both. Yeah. And then could definitely take these two. I like that actually. Um yeah, I like that a lot. It's very elegant. So right now, who has our Omega Sentinel? We only have a couple. We've already said that we're putting Maria somewhere else. So Peter's unduped one. We have to ask ourselves, will that be fine over here? Probably. So Peter is now on node or on over excuse me, these nodes over here. And so we say Peter is bringing Omega Sentinel and has a tier 2 path. Let's head back up. Nice meta. Um, you were actually not Maria because your champions were not thrown in here, but I wanted to talk about your rank 4 I-bomb, so I promoted somebody else's. Okay. So for 21 Ragthor, there are a number of things we could do here. So let's take a look at actual note lane 9 first. So Mephisto there, you could use Rolk and it'd be great, but you would trigger Schadenfreude. You are not Priusley, this is not that old. But you could trigger Schadenfreude with Rolk, and so the block damage would kind of hurt. That said, I don't really think he'd have a problem getting through it. The other thing is that you could just Quake this, right? Because they left it open, you can Quake Hazard Shift. So that is definitely an option. And I'll put that off to the side. But speaking to slightly harder counters, I actually quite like Penny here for Mephisto. And then also for Ragthor, because Penny is a really good nuke. And yeah, I would specifically tell the player, all right, make sure that you throw on an invulnerability just in case you trigger a ton of those auras. But that's kind of true for anyone, and I don't think you're likely to have any other problems. Plus, Penny can specifically. Oh no, wait. I don't know why I'm saying that because Penny's not great against Mephisto. So I'm going to take that away, and I'm going to say Quake. But I do like Penny against Ragthor because she bypasses the Schadenfreude stuff really well. You did Mephisto with Rolk? Nice. Well, the person I'm thinking of actually also has Rolk. Let's do Rolk, Iceman, Penny, because why not? Because that's going to be weird. There's definitely only one person over here with Rolk, Iceman, Penny, so let's take a look. Okay. Wait, what? Okay, that was really weird. That's going to be Jose. Still getting used to this. Whoops. Is Cole good on EMP mod? I wouldn't. Cole's not shock immune, so I wouldn't say so, no. Kitty could do all three. Yeah, she could. I Christian, I've seen an awful lot of dead Kitty players in high tier war. It's not going to be something I reach for first. Like not to throw any shade here because he's a better player than I am, but Legacy has died more with Kitty than I have with any other champion over the past few seasons, and that's not on him. It's on the fact that like she's being used to make pathing easier, but she is a risky champion to use, and so I don't try to stretch her. Um, if you have somebody like Lags who is very comfortable with her and the fight lines up, then sure. But she's not poison immune. Yeah. I would not particularly like her here. Especially because Ragthor has the auto block, so you would need the Tigra synergy, and now you're talking real pathing constraints. Nah, that's not really true, Red. Redbird. Like there are alliances that do it that way, and there are certain fights that we absolutely approach that way. But I think I assign a lot fewer power starts and power backs than you think if you're saying that. Warlock here, easiest thing in the world is just Venom Pool. If we have to send somebody else like Venom or whatever, that's fine, but Venom Pool makes that completely brainless, so I'm just going to put that in. Every BG should have a lags would make planning easier. Yes, it absolutely would. But my point there is that you're not like that's not the best, safest matchup. That is an adequate matchup that a really good player is making work. That's a very different thing. Okay. So now we're looking over here and we're looking at Tigra on Conflictor and Mysterio on Vivified. So Mysterio on Vivified is definitely the more annoying out of these two. And so my instinct is just use Corvus. And this is absolutely a spot where I would power boost, power back, have the person just turn it off. Because Mysterio is annoying. You could also use Torch if he were unbanned or Hercules, but they're both banned for a reason. So yeah, I'm going to put Corvus there. That means that this Tigra cannot be taken by a Cap plus House of X if it's that same person. Could split this lane, or you could just have that person bring like Rolk. It's not going to be the most fun Tigra fight in the world, but it's going to be better than somebody like, say, Longshot. And so I do think that Rolk specifically with recoil would be totally fine there. Omega Red. You could. You could potentially do both of those with Omega Red, yeah. Do I think Cole on the node where you get 25% power attack for each buff is a good idea? I'm not sure we have the same node, Redbird, but if you're talking about Opportunist, then no, because Cole is not a good defender. Sounds like a clown path. Honestly, PWF, yep. That's exactly what that is. Um, Bit of a giveaway here. All right. So Ben now has a tier 1 path. That's probably what you'd be sent with. Yeah, makes sense, Slay. It could definitely work. Okay, so Sorcerer over here on Ebb and Flow Knockdown. Like, we already talked about putting a cap in tier 2. That'd be super simple. So cap, and you don't even need a House of X for that. Like, it would be nice, but he'd be fine. Tigra on spiked armor is an absolute nothing burger. That could be taken with Cap, that could be taken with Reed, I-Bomb, whatever. Omega Sentinel, not one of those necessarily, but not that big a deal. God, people are so bad at understanding what Mole Man can actually do. Anyway, I've sent these before, not a difficult fight. There's your cap right up the center there. You can easily send them with skill to purify things. And so now let's go ahead and look at somebody who does have a rank, a Sig 200 cap. And we have Miles over here does. And hold on, does Miles also have a ranked House of X? No. Okay, so that's definitely going to be our center person and not our person on 6. Oh, and I don't know why I put that you need this with Surfer, so actually take that off. Okay, but Miles now has Cap, House of X, and a free spot. So you could potentially bring another House of X if you wanted to do that, but more likely that's going to be some skill champion. Maybe that will even be Mole Man for Modoc. Or no, because we're probably sending them to this other side. So maybe it is another House of X. We'll see. All right, so Omega Sentinel with aggression prowess is really not a problem. You could use Nimr, or you could use Nebula here. I'll put that off to the side. Nebula or Medusa would probably be my top two. You could quake it, right? There's nothing that stops you from quaking her. You could technically use Tigra, but I don't love that matchup personally. You could also just use Corvus. That would be a really easy spot to get a Corvus ramp. All right, and then we have Spam over here and Null here. There are a lot of things you could do here. Mole Man definitely takes both of them. That's probably where I would go first. But you could also potentially do that with like Kingpin for both and play a little more carefully on Spam. Or you could do Elsa for both and play a little more carefully on Null. Either way, not a huge deal. Nothing Burger sounds like a good fast food joint. All right, Sasquatch over here on node 20. Let me double check this. Yeah, also immune to armor break. Okay, so that is a little bit of a Cap trap. You could send Cap with Sam there if you were then going to do that over here. Or if you felt like you were forced into it for one of these, you could absolutely do that. You could, I feel like Omega Red would be completely fine for that. Yeah, Crom's already saying it. Like that's my first instinct. I don't see anything that makes that harder than Man Thing. You like Doom? That makes sense as well. I would be totally fine with either of those. Since we already have an Omega Red in the field, and Omega Red is not always the simplest champion to path, in my personal opinion. I'm waiting for Slay to blow up. Um, I do personally, it's, let's say more accurately, I'm not the most comfortable assigning Omega Red in tier 1. And so since we already have one in the field, this is where I would look for does one of these fit with 4 Omega Red, because then we have that set. Yeah, you could use Mr. Negative or Overseer with Odin's for sure. I'd be very comfortable with all of those. You could even use I-Bomb here. I've seen I-Bomb used for Man-Thing. Could use him here as well. Yeah, I know. We already talked about Path 7 Slay. I like the Corvus charge, though, and there's no Corvus charges over here. Um, but yeah, I was about to look at Path 1, because that's normally a pretty easy one for Omega. The regen on Venom worries me a little bit. See, this is when I would ask this is literally when I would text Slay and ask, like, would the regen worry you? Because it can be pretty darn strong. But you can also just send somebody else to deal with Venom. Because they still have an open spot, right? Yeah, Priya's got a spot. Because Omega Red could definitely take Thing. Wouldn't use it on I Hulk. Could take Mole, and then you would use somebody else for Void. That wouldn't be bad. The regen is nothing? See, I swear I remember taking a fight there where the regen was like 3,000 per tick at some point. but I only remember that once, and since then I've just been sending somebody to eat the buffs, so that's fine. I really thought it was more. Must be thinking of something else. Anyway, so I will, like, I'm comfortable assigning Omega Red there, but let's just take a look at Priya's Mystics real quick. Because, like, Venom is so easy that it probably makes more sense, even if Omega can take that, to go ahead and send Priya with Claire is the one that sticks out to me because then you don't have to do anything with masteries. So there you go. And if Priya spoke up to me and was like, "Can I just take it with Omega Red?" then I would give that permission. But I tend to, if there's another spot, I put things like this down. Might be easier to list who doesn't have a Doom. That's what I used to do, honestly. Um, but I like listing who has rank fours, whose is unduped if that comes up, etc. And no, I get what you're saying, Major, but like everyone messes up. I promise you, like, you'd probably mess up a bit too with this level of planning. Tier 1 is a different beast, and when you have the pressure on you like that, like something just gets away from you at some point. We put in this work because it's a team thing and we want the team to be set up well, but like we don't get mad at every single person who quote costs us the donut. That's not, unless you're going for number one and everyone has signed on to that, like with GT40, it's just not a productive way to do it. See, that's what I said, Mad Dog. That's, I remember it being ugly against someone. Oh well, Claire's fine. That's funny, Crom. Anyway, moving on. So Apocalypse, my favorite there is Guardian. There are other options for sure, but my personal favorite is Guardian because it's almost impossible to mess up. For iHulk, you could definitely use Guardian as well. You could also use Killmonger, Moleman, or Nick really easily. Those would be the easiest. For Mole, I still like Doom there. He's just nice and safe as long as you don't like eat specials in Frenzy or something. I know there are other options, but that's the one that I still stick to. Hey, Highline, how's it going? And then for Void here, like frigging any skill champion, basically. Again, this is not a meta placement during season. A lot of these have been good enough to talk about, but some of them are just very much clear off-season things. Yeah, Guardian and Mold do have that great synergy for sure. So I'm just going to put skill there. And at this point, we start putting teams together. So we need a Nimrod somewhere. We're looking at a Nimrod over here. So is there someone? See, right away, I'm thinking slightly selfishly here because I see that I've got Reed down for this, and I'll be completely honest. Who am I in this? Yeah, I'm John. That is not actually my name, but I just picked one. Um, and so I go, all right, John has a rank 4 Reed. That's going to make that nice and easy. John has a Killmonger. John has a Nimrod. Boom. So that's taken care of. And then I look, where can I put Nimrod, Killmonger, Reed earlier on? Now, Killmonger can actually take Omega Sentinel. I've done that before. It's not that hard a fight, so I could very well end up on 6 here. Um, you could replace Guardian with Nimrod, and like I said, you could take Killmonger here for Eye Hulk, so I could very easily take Node 2. Those are kind of the two. Um, so the question is, do we want a second ranked Corvus? Or is it more of a problem to bring Guardian? Are we worried at all about this Omega Sentinel? So I scroll down and I look. There's not really anything that we're going to need Corvus for later. So, like, we already talked about Corvus could go here on Killmonger. Corvus can definitely take Annihilus and Jabari. So this is why I write these alternates, because then I come back with this stuff and I'm like, all right, now that I'm thinking about this, maybe Ben, who has Rolk and Corvus, ends up taking Rolk, Corvus, House of X. Sorry, I'm not used to this keyboard. And so then we put that here. And there you go. So like that completely sorts Ben's lanes. And then if we're going, okay, we don't actually need this stuff over here. I'm going to check real quick and see what Guardians we have, because maybe that could be a limiting factor. We have a fair number of Guardians, and that's a very easy fight. We have several Nimrods as well. So that's not a problem. So I think I will probably go ahead and put these ones from John. I'll put that on lane 6. And there you go. Now, the trick here for this Killmonger fight is that you do have to maintain the True Strike. And so this is the kind of fight where if I'm not assigning it to myself, where I'll know I'll duel the crap out of it, I will talk to somebody else before I send this out, because I know that this is hard. And if we had somebody else who wanted to take it with Nebula or Medusa, or if we needed another Corvus, then I'd happily just put myself on 2, and that'd be fine as well. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Okay. So let's take a look around. We have Jose with Rolk, Penny, Iceman. Does that go anywhere else? And we're keeping in mind that we probably could swap some of this stuff around. We could definitely use Iceman for Ragthor as well. It would just be a little slower. We could use the thing is, if this wasn't off season and I was confident that Elsa was not running recoil, then yeah, you could use somebody else there too. You could use Penny for Mephisto and just mainly stick to the special one. It would be slower, but you would have the power control. There are a number of things you could do here if you needed an extra spot, like I have over here. Jose is one of our Quakers, so we could just easily replace those two with Quake. But let's take a look for something that speaks to at least one of those. Yeah, and we see over here, we have these two Quake fights. We have Miguel there. We also have this Quake over here. So because we have some stipulations here, I'm now thinking that no, because if I send Cap for Maw, I want him to have the skill over the Sam synergy. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm sorry, I'm kind of thinking out loud as I go here. But I was considering maybe adding Sam here and sending that for Sasquatch. I don't think I'm going to do that. But what I can do is go ahead and change these two to Quake. And put that over here. Oh, and you know what? Because that Elsa could be running recoil, maybe we leave that as Quake Penny Iceman anyway. And then Jose is just spoken for. So good to go. So then, let's see. Do we have anyone? So Jose could take this. We're going to go ahead and pencil that in. We do have an I-bomb for Maria over here, so while we're down here, let's start penciling some of these in. John has Killmonger, so we can throw that there. We're assuming, based on what we've been sending Miles to, that he's definitely taking this. Might be the Mordo, might not be. But let's go ahead and count up those House of X's. So Miles at the moment has one use here and one use here. Now the thing is that this is House of X. You don't actually need this because it's not normal Magneto, right? So I think at this point I would probably delete that and go ahead and put back here, this is House of X1, and then this is House of X2, this is House of X3, and then that can also be Miles, and then we're going to go ahead and mark his House of X as 3 out of 3. So all pre-fights are used. And then we also want to check out Ben's real quick. Doesn't matter on the Tigra. Could help on the Mysterio, but we'll leave that up to him. You do want it on both of these. So that's 1 and 2. And this is how to check for spares. So then we go Ben's House of X is at 2 out of 3. Okay. So let's take a look around. We have Maria has I-Bomb and Doom in Tier 2. So let's take a look at Tier 1 and see if there's an easy place to put I-Bomb and Doom. So we don't see an obvious one right away. Let's take a look real quick. Does Maria have Venom Pool? No. Does Maria have Venom? No. Does Maria have King Groot? No. Okay, so we're not going to send them over there. But we have these other paths. Sorry, who did I say? Maria. I-Bomb and Doom. So we could probably send them to 4 with Mole Man, or we could send them to 3 with basically any skill and have them handle that Mole Man there. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. So Maria goes here, Doom for Mole Man, and let's check out Maria's skill champions. Okay, so I'm seeing Kingpin, not somebody you send to Void. I'm seeing Mole, I'm seeing Nick, I'm seeing Shang-Chi. So out of those is going to be Mole. And then now that one is set. So let's see, who do we still have to work with? We have Peter, Sue, Victor, and Bruce. Okay. So we need somebody to take this. So Peter, Sue, Victor, and Bruce. Who has Guardian or Nimrod and Killmonger or Mole Man? So Victor has a Guardian at Sig 60. Honestly, that's enough, having played that fight myself before. But Victor also has a rank 4 Nimrod. So we were looking at skill champions. Victor has Killmonger, does not have Mole Man, does have Nick, but Victor also has Void. And so that to me is starting to sound like something, because then I'm going to send Victor here with Nimrod, Killmonger. Then we're going to look in tier 2. And I can send Void here. And so now Victor has a spot, and that one flowed pretty quickly, because that's Void, Killmonger, Nimrod, both paths, and now we have our boss killer on the field, right? So let's see. Now we have Sue, Bruce, and Peter. So we need a Miguel anti-venom Quake, basically. Like, that would be ideal. Let's take a look at our Quakers. Sue. Peter has a tier 2 path. So we're basically looking at Sue here. Does Sue have Spider-Man 2099? No. And so this is where we're starting to look at things, because maybe we end up moving somebody else somewhere. Sorry, Bruce is also on the table. So if that's not working out exactly, maybe we end up doubling. So Bruce does have Spider-Man 2099. And so maybe we send Bruce to the Sasquatch specifically, but then somebody else to Quake. So let's say that Bruce is going to take Spider-Man 99 and Anti-Venom because you really want that alongside there. We're going to call that X even though it's just a shared node because they're not taking the other one, but we have all the others set so we can afford to double. But then that means that Sue has to Quake. And that's fine because we have them down for that, right? Yes. Right, easy? No, like there's Agent Venom is a massive pain in the butt, honestly. So Sue is going to Quake, and they have that. So we put them here, and as soon as I do that, as soon as I assign the last person in tier 2, now I'm going to say, all right, no backup, because it's important for people to understand that. And so now we have 3 people with several slots open to take this and this. So who has a Venom pool out of Peter, Sue, and Bruce? Does anyone? Bruce does. Okay, so Bruce is now on path 8. Oh, and we also want to go ahead and put Bruce in here for this Mangok. So Miguel, and then now we're up here for Bruce, and Bruce is bringing Venom Pool. So Sue is taking Quake, Peter is taking Omega Sentinel, and so both of them are wide open for this because we can also send Victor to both of these here. Sorry, I cannot type it all on this keyboard. So Victor has both of those, and then let's see, we have 2 Quake fights, 2 Omega Sentinel fights. I feel like Peter's probably having more fun, so I'll give Sue these 2. As long as Sue does have Mole Man. Let's double check on that. Yes, Sue has Mole Man. And so now Peter is our backup in tier 1. And at this point, we could probably send it in, right? You notice how, like, as we went, I know I was talking through a lot more possibilities at the very beginning, but both, like, chat calmed down so that I talked through a bit less as we went, but also these things just accelerate. At first, you're just putting down possibilities. Then when you actually start writing down who is taking what, the number of possibilities start shrinking very rapidly and things start going quickly. At this point, I would note that Peter only has 2 fights. Personally, I don't like doing that. And so I would look at, okay, so who has a lot of fights? Victor has a lot of fights, but we're probably not going to take those away specifically because a lot of them are pretty important. But let's see, does Peter have like a guardian maybe? No, they don't. We may leave this. It's not the end of the world if this happens, but now I also start looking around. Does anybody maybe not have a perfect fight in tier 1 where Peter's a backup? And I see this Tigra where we have Rolk written down with recoil. That might make me slightly nervous. The rest of these all look pretty darn safe to me. Whoops, that was supposed to be read. The rest of these look pretty darn safe to me, but so maybe what I do is I go, all right, Ben actually brings Corvus here, but we're going to have Peter come in. Hold on, does Peter have a cap before I start typing all of this? Yes. Oh, but you know what? Peter's going to have Omega Sentinel, so he would trigger Conflictor, but against Tigra, actually, that seems like less of a problem to me than Maw. And so I'm just going to mark that as an alternate now. I'll allow the two of them to talk between themselves, and we'll have either this is roll recoil or cap plus House of X. And so I'll go ahead and mark in Peter, cap, and House of X, and we'll let them figure that out. And so this is, at this point, this is where I would send it to the other officers and we'd look over it. And maybe there's some mistakes in here that I've missed. There are definitely alternates that people can go with. Um, like I said, there usually is more than one way to solve a particular plan. And if I ever like stick to my guns with some of my fellow officers, it's not because I think that they're wrong about planning in a vacuum. It's more because I think they might be wrong about how the 10 people in my battle group line up best. Because that is something that you have to think about. Um, Not everyone is going to be as comfortable with different things as others. Like, I know that Miles can take this Doom fight because I've seen them fight before. I trust them to slow play, right? Not everyone could take this fight with Cap. I know that John is going to be fine with Tigra and is not going to eat multiple special ones with her or from her because in this case, like I said earlier, I'm John. I'm not worried about that. I wouldn't assign this Killmonger fight to everyone. Maybe with somebody else, I would bring Medusa and I would just force this Invisible Woman fight with Reed. That also very much would have worked. I definitely could have done that, and then I could have sent one of the Mole Mans to Modoc. I prefer that fight with Killmonger because I'm so comfortable with him, but there are always so many permutations. But yeah, as Mad Dog is saying, every battle group is a unique combination of 10 people with unique rosters, unique skill sets, abilities, experience, comfort levels. And so often that's what it comes down to. That's really where the art of planning, the art is in planning, because you can do this stuff quickly. But figuring out your battle group, becoming comfortable with it and who is in it, and then really putting together a plan, that's when the donuts start popping, in my personal opinion. Or, honestly, to go back to what somebody said earlier, if you are in a group where everyone is constantly boosting to the nines with power backs with gray boosts, then maybe you can start expecting donuts a little earlier. But that's not how we tend to roll as a general rule of thumb. You saw me assign several of these. Like those Mole Man fights, I would tell them to use power backs. Um, we assigned a couple invulnerabilities on here. The Corvus fights are getting power backs. We already have an invulnerability here. Like you do certain stuff, but there are often a lot of counters, and that's the part of war that I personally enjoy a bit more, honestly. So does anyone have any other questions? I see that our viewership has dropped off a little bit from the heights. So those of you who are still here, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you to everyone else who is hanging out. I'm sure some people just had to go for other reasons. But are there any questions or anything, or should I go grab some water and then turn this into an incursion stream? Also, I don't think I understood how large or the conversion rate earlier properly, Crom, because I'm just now seeing what your donation turned into, and so I would like to say thank you again. I really appreciate that, my friend. Thanks, everyone. I'm glad you enjoyed this. I mean, obviously, it's going to be different in season because this isn't a fully diverse lineup. They didn't go over this with a fine tooth comb to try and path split, which is why you get things like Quake Quake. That's why null is so popular on. To talk about the other side of this, that's why null is so popular on path 4. Because if you look at Claire and you go, oh, Quake is easy, then they want to make sure, okay, let's try and make this a little harder. Now, I do know that you can Quake null because he's bugged, but eventually that will probably be fixed. And we know that's probably why null started there, was to counter her. Oh, Thor, thank you. Thank you so much. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, let's go check that out. Kabam, Spotlight, Jane. Do I usually have my sheet sized where scrolling isn't needed? Yeah, that was more viewing for the stream. I often have to scroll a little bit, but not very much. The other thing is that it's still in Pittsburgh because we haven't fully moved yet, but I'm used to having like uh, 25 something, like a 4K monitor. So I'm used to a lot more real estate. And so that makes that a lot easier. Okay, so let's take a look through these, and then there's a link to the Thor one in here somewhere, right? Okay, yes. Right? Okay, we'll take that in a second. This is really interesting. I wonder how much this is going to cost. Because like this could definitely make it a little less painful to go back and do some of those Karina's challenges. Sweet. Okay, so energy overfill is for everyone now. That's absolutely huge. I love that so much. People have already talked about the inventory expansion. A lot of these make a ton of sense. And keep in mind that this is the inventory cap pre-sigil. So like this T4CC being 16 was already higher. And so now it's going to be higher than 24. That's going to help an awful lot. Being able to hold 6 T5CC up from 2 is so massive. I appreciate the hell out of that. I'm curious how this is going to scale with levels, because I'm assuming this is not only for level 60, that they probably um, implemented some of it below that, because it would be silly to be able to hold um, 3 tier 5 basics at level 50 and then have that jump all the way to 15 at level 60. So hopefully they did that. Nice, BK. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so bug fixes. Okay, so that is a slight nerf to him, but that was really just kind of a cheese thing, so that doesn't bother me. The Kingpin fix, assuming they actually did that, that's so huge. Like, I really wonder how he's going to feel now. He's already so strong, but he was so broken in a bad way. Okay, that's very good with King Groot. But it doesn't look like they fixed his Fury thing. That's going to really annoy a lot of people. I'm sad to see that. They did fix Mole Man. Ugh, people are going wild. I'm not going to get into that now. Oh, there it is. A second King Groot fix. Okay, good. They did fix it. Very happy to hear that. Yeah, Dally, for sure. They always increase the inventory cap before or shortly after new ranks come. I'm glad they fixed this because somebody got really mad at Kabam Mike and me via proxy for defending him on Twitter, saying that it was like, ugh, yeah, Nightcrawler never disoriented anybody. It was just old text. So I'm glad they fixed that. Okay, I'm glad they fixed this because this was just kind of something you had to know about Archangel. And it does make a certain amount of sense, I think. Like, it doesn't bother me. It's not a nerf. This is the way it's always worked. But I'm glad that that actually reads properly now. Oh, that's good. That was really annoying about the Achilles heel one. Okay. Hmm. Hey, Simula, how's it going? I'm sure you're having a good day thanks to the King Groot stuff. Keep her synergies in mind as well. Okay. I'll go ahead and pull up Jane's page over here before we read through her stuff for that reason. Extra shock potency and a lot of extra block, perfect block chance, which remember also turns into extra stun duration. This is the kind of thing that can get by Limber. That's potentially a very big deal for a shock champion. Okay, that one's fine. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal, honestly. And then longer shocks. Okay, let's go take a look. If you're still down after this nerd, I'm just gonna go grab some water because I've been talking almost nonstop for 2 hours. Yep, that sounds about right. Okay, so prestige didn't go up much, right? Isn't that still like very bad? I mean, it's not as bad as this, obviously, but 13,490. Oh, you can't do incursions tonight? Good to know, Slay. Appreciate it. Um, but that'll be okay. 13,490. Where's that put her? Okay, right about with Mole Man, Kingpin, Corvus. Okay, so Black Panther. Yeah, they put her in the like not atrocious, but definitely not actively good range. That sounds fair. Ease of use 4. Okay. I don't like reading the strengths and weaknesses because it's usually just oblique references to the actual abilities. Okay, huge energy resistance. That's the same, right? Yeah, that's the same. But the shock potency reduction is stronger. That makes a lot of sense. Ooh, but science champions can still shock her. So like Reed can and Scorpion can. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, and she starts with 30 perfect block chance. Okay, that's what Simula was saying. Yeah, 60% perfect block chance is huge. That's 6/10 of a second, even when you've stunned someone 1,000 times with Limber. That's massive. Like this stun can go to nothing in Labyrinth or something, but the parry stun's actually working is big because she was always so bad against Limber, and that's really big. Yes, she still has the guaranteed critical hits. Is that the same amount of extra crit rating? Oh, that was over here, so that's just been folded in. Okay. And so it's not the max, but it looks like they gave her like about SIG 160 just permanently. That's pretty big. She always has Petrify. Okay. And so for those of us who run max Petrify, which should be all of you, I'm half kidding, she's going to get a little bit extra attack. So her base attack is okay, 3,000. So she's going to get 600, so about 20%. 20% extra attack from having Petrify is sweet. Yeah, that makes sense. 2 stagger passives. She already had that, right? Did they get longer? Yeah, they did. And it used to not be 100% chance. Okay, that's a huge buff, actually, as far as buff control goes. Oh yeah, you're right. It is. Let me switch over to that. So it is almost. It's very high sig crit rating just folded in. That's huge. Very cool. Okay, so 30% extra. She just has the bonus crit rating while they're shocked or while they're stunned. Passives are more than twice as long and 100% chance, not 85%. Okay, the special one, is that the same? Yes, that's the same. That was always your bread and butter anyway. Okay, but the special two's shock is now longer. Not much stronger, so it should actually be slightly weaker per tick. Becomes passive against cosmics. Cool. Now that I like. Okay. BAM loves to buff champions by giving them their sig abilities to their base kit. I mean, it's often a really big thing, right? Like it can go a very long way. Sometimes putting those as sig abilities is just too conservative. Like I do think that Purgatory should have at least part of her sig ability where she auto captures the soul in her base kit. At least the special three. But that's really cool. I like that extra utility for the special two. And then the special three is now significantly longer, but again will be less per tick. But it is a passive, so that's not necessarily as big a problem because you don't have to worry about willpower making the weaker shock much weaker because the healing gets spread out more. And then that's also paused. Okay, I like that a lot. Yeah, giving her huge utility against debuff immunes, which was always a problem for her. Okay. She's still honestly somewhat niche or like one trick. Like there's not a whole lot going on here. I feel like the spirit of her kit is still very similar. Um she basically staggers, shocks, stuns, but it's like there's a lot of little things that they did to make her kit updated to where the game is right now and the challenges she has. I don't think this makes her a top mystic, but I do think that this should actually make her fun to play and effective, which is the goal. Each time Thor inflicts a personal shock effect on the opponent, she also has a 100% chance to nullify all power gain buffs on them. That's fine. Okay, so this is the SIG ability. So that's up to 80% less ability power. Okay. That's fine. A little bit extra perfect block chance, so she can get up to 65. Fine. Nothing special there. That's really interesting. That's actually a decent synergy for Venom Pool. It's actually one of his worst ones. I take that back. But where I was going next, I think she does slightly invert power gain sim, yeah. Because it says that she always has Petrify, and that works. Um, if I have two Petrifies from Reed's pre-fights on the opponent and I stun them, then it gets turned around. And so that's exactly what she would have at max sig. She would have 80% less ability power rate, which is the same as the two Petrifies. And then she would have 3 points in Petrify the Mastery, which I always run. So yeah, she will invert power gain. I'm pretty confident. That's a big deal. Hey, Buddy Lee, how's it going? Thanks so much. Um, but yeah, where I was going next was she's also going to pair quite well with Reed. Like, none of these are amazing. Let's be real. But it actually looks like there's a reason to use all of Jane's specials now. So having them cost up to 15% less is a pretty big deal. Yeah, that looks like a really successful buff to me. Not broken, but very solid. Okay, I'm gonna go grab some water and I will be right back, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this up in case anyone's curious about any of that. Go ahead and mute. Man, moving from a two-room apartment to a two-story house, I have to go so much further for water. All right, let's go ahead and close that. And let's do some incursions. Let's invite Nerd first. Or we can in a second, assuming you're still there, Nerd, and down. Well, that was very weird. Sorry, everyone. Gave you an ad. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. My wired connection just died. And then it's back. So something must have happened with the extender because I moved it into my room and now it's directly plugged in. Very weird. Anyway, assuming Nerd's on now, there we go. Yeah, sorry, I was dealing with that. Super weird. Sorry about that. Okay. No penny for easy air walker ramp? No, because I a big part of the ramp is how many buffs are on him, so Odin takes care of that. And I actually consider it more important to have the power gain on the heavy, which is what Maw provides, than to ramp quickly. Uh, either or actually, yeah, I was about to say you probably want to go that way. Um, Then yeah, go ahead and ramp, because Nebula's the one I want down anyway. And then which one do you want me to take? Probably Hood? Okay. Or I guess if you're running Corvus, the heal block probably is more annoying. I'll do that then. See, that's not too bad for a first fight with Airwalker. Sorry, I'm gonna need to get some kind of motion dampening thing so I can set my water down. Wish your internet was good enough to stream without massive lag. I think mine usually is, but yeah, that was a big jump. It can definitely be tricky. Some of y'all remember when I had to completely give up on a download a week or two ago, or an upload, because I was trying to upload a video and I just wanted like it had like 4 minutes left when I went live. That 4 minutes turned into 20 and completely crashed my stream. Hello? Speaking of weird things. There we go. That's moderately annoying. Yeah, I'll take down node 3, that's fine. And then hit monkey. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, BK, how's it going? Character select, because we have too many cosmics. So let's drop Odin. He served his purpose. Thing is, now we could bring in Penny, and then I could have actually left up encroaching stun. Oh, but I think I kind of like that. Okay, let's finish ramping it, Walker. One special Dark Tide passive. You'll love to see it. Sun short arms. Thanks, user. Take care, Crom. Thanks again, man. Really appreciate it. And hey, Double P. Appreciate the raid. Ooh, good luck to you. Good luck to you, Crom. I hope you do end up being able to take Coast. Hey, Zach, Mike, welcome. And if you're around, Enzo, thanks so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Moriarty to my Sherlock. That makes sense. Do I think there is an easy path every war? Certain paths are easier on average than others, but there can be hard fights basically anywhere. Um, and I know you know that. I'm trying to think like on average, I think 3A tends to be a bit easier. 6A is definitely a bit easier. They usually just end up putting hard defenders on 6A to force it that way. Ooh, that sounds busted with Airwalker, as much as I love Entropic Shield. Um, I think in tier 2, with Defiance, lane 1 is definitely on the easier side. Lane 3 is often easy, but that's again one where it often kind of makes sense for them to put harder defenders. Hmm. It really just kind of depends. But I think those that I called out would probably be some of the easier ones. It also depends on who you have, of course. Freezer burn boss? Oops, I didn't even look. Yeah, I could have brought in a skill for Cap. Red Guardian. Annoying. Yeah, Corvus does sound like that's probably. That's right, we're in Sector 8. I need to check the bosses. heal back up eventually. That makes sense. Actually, I can probably take it with Airwalker if you want. Okay, up to you. Ooh, energy resistance. Perfect timing. How's it going, Zach? Yeah, Corvus was fine. Tide of Combat would have been the more fun one to take, but since we just picked up some resistances, I like the attribute boost one. Okay, life cycle's obnoxious. Yeah, okay, definitely number two. Incursions is being a bit buggy today. Oops. Hope this doesn't kill them. There we go. Just needed the nullify. That'll do it. Freaking love Maw. What's on here again? That's right. Awesome work. I'm looking forward to it. I do need to use Airwalker in here. I just like this whole team. That's the problem. Ooh, um, it's so boring, but strategic movement is definitely the smart move. Power efficiency and Typhoon is actually a pretty annoying combination. No turning back. I do need to get a Google device at some point for that. I like my Apple products, but it would make sense. Wait, have the game sounds not been on? No, they are. It's weird. Oh, they're turned way down. Oh, that's right, because Mirrorverse was loud. Okay, that's maybe a bit much. That's probably about. Let me know if that's too loud, guys. That's awesome work. Yeah, I definitely need to grab one. Some like stupid cheap Google account that can barely run the game. Oh, I brought him into. That's so dumb. I brought mine to ramp, but I can't ramp because to nullify something, he would have to gain a buff. Stupid, stupid DLL. Oh well. Still a fun fight. Boss should be your last charge. Sweet. I honestly have no idea, BK. Because the game definitely feels a bit slower on my phone than on my iPad, and my phone is not that old. That call I actually need to take. I'll have to call them back. Yeah, without a plan, an iPad sounds like the way to go then. Personally, I prefer this game quite a bit on an iPad to a phone, but that is not going to be true for everyone. And funnily enough, from the brief amount I've spent on it, I prefer Mirrorverse on a phone. So it's not like I always prefer the one over the other. Okay, let's take a look at the boss. Conflictor Ragnarok. Yeah, that's fine. Hmm. Play on an iPad but make purchases on the phone. Yeah, if I got a small android, that's probably what would happen. Okay, let's actually use this charged Norseman Airwalker that we've been sitting on for several rooms. Do I want to try to go past 10? Sure. It's also shards, so I definitely don't mind. Should have thrown the special one there. Actually, maybe we go for the special 3. I could use some healing. Well, that's pretty nice. I could use some healing, he says, before accidentally comboing the opponent into oblivion. Yeah, double P, both of those. And also my fat hands don't get in the way. iPad feels much better to me. I'm glad to hear that, nerd. Little bit, user. I forgot about the Plagued Mind. Sure thing, nerd. Hey, Devil Dog. I'll happily take Thor. Should be a good Maw fight. Like, Conflictor's annoying, don't get me wrong, but still should be a good Maw fight. Chef's kiss. Your iPad's so old you can't upgrade it anymore. Well, you still can upgrade it, right? You just don't get any credit for it. Or oh, I see what you mean. You can't upgrade the OS anymore. Yeah, that's probably pretty old. I didn't realize Nerd was back. Okay. She-Hulk. Okay, so definitely node 1, and then are you going to be obnoxious? Powerful from afar is kind of obnoxious, but that should be fine. That's part of Summer's beating the heat with a cold brew coffee. I do like cold brew, but you know what I actually prefer is there was this spot in Pittsburgh that I walked to a few times where they called it a Liz Lemon, and it was basically like a tonic. It was like sparkling lemonade and espresso and like something else. It was so dang refreshing. Yeah, easy. The game really does seem to like iPads. Whoops! That stung a bit. Blood pressure issues? I'm sorry to hear that, man. Can you do tea? I know it's not the same, but I'm just curious. Come on, let's be fair to Mike User. These days, what could he say that wouldn't cause fallout from someone? And I gotta not read chat while I'm trying to do this. All right, let's see if we actually heal this time. Oh yeah, I'm curious which one you're thinking of, Madrox. Yeah, good point, nerd. Fine, I guess I won't heal. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Bean. That does make sense about the iPad. Purple mostly, iced and hot. Well, that's good. I'm glad there's still something. I love me some non-alcoholic, non-caffeinated good beverages. Oh yeah, I've been to. At first, I thought it was Convive, but yeah, I've been to Convive. I gotta admit, unless I'm remembering something else, I don't think I actually loved that one. I mean, it's possible we got like a bad day, but I just remember the coffee being like fine and not excellent. Ooh, encroaching stun plus dismay is pretty nasty. But nerd does have Herc. Okay. Man thing. Man thing is pretty obnoxious. Probably need to swap someone in. Yeah, let's drop one. Although actually being fate sealed Probably helps against him, right? No, let's not risk it. Yeah, that's very helpful, nerd. Um, I'll make sure, yeah, take down node 3. Let me make sure I do that correctly. Alright, I think I'll drop cap for negs then. Wait, where'd he go? There he is. Yeah, that's what I've heard about Lawrenceville Sim. Also, I forget if I told you that I was moving back to Texas. I will be back for 1 week at the end of July, if you're around. I don't know why I use negs here. He's not going to be better than the others. That's fine. Let's see. I'm coming back on the 24th of July and then leaving August 1st. So I have some time, literally the last week. Hey, Ozvan, how's it going? Happy almost Canada Day indeed. I'm outside of Houston now, easy. Back in my childhood home, actually, but this is where the job was. That went pretty well. We could end up in Dallas, because my position is actually pretty flexible. So it kind of depends on where my girlfriend finds work next year, because she's in a 1 year fellowship now. And then we'll see from there. But I'll let y'all know if I do end up in Dallas. The popular answer I would expect would be Ninfa's Madrox, but there are a lot, so. Yeah, I've had that happen with a couple champions before, nerd. That's funny. If I get the option without it costing much, I will go ahead and take him up. Okay, nice and easy boss. Oh, that's gross. Okay, I don't. We definitely don't want Warlock to have Pilfer. Yeah, I don't want him to have Oscillate either, but Pilfer's gross. So two. And then I think I'll take Elsa. Actually, maybe we take. Hey, Gabar. Appreciate it. Oh, don't you do that to me, Easy. I pretty strongly agree. I recognize that Tex-Mex and authentic Mexican food are mutually exclusive, but I very much enjoy both. They're just two different genres. It's kind of like we all know that the great pizza places in America are, for the most part, nothing like Italian pizza. Still good food. Every time I bring Pizza Hut home, she says this is just like the old country. That sounds legit. Died with Corvus to Biohazard. Rip. Maybe there are just far more bad Tex-Mex than good ones. Oh, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. But like that's true everywhere. There's definitely going to be places in Mexico that serve cruddy food. But like we can't compare like a good restaurant in Mexico City to Taco Bell. Nah, but if you ever are in the Woodlands Easy, there are a few around here where I'd try and change your mind. There's also some good Mexican places around here. There's one down by the Beltway that's absolutely amazing. Like I said, I do love both. Even back in Pittsburgh, there was Mad Mex, which was quote Cali Mex. It was basically Tex Mex with more avocados and vegetarian options. But I enjoyed that. But there was also a place, La Palapa, in the South Side, which feels like, as best I can tell, very authentic, like Yucatan Mexican, and oh, so Yeah, I'm expecting, unless the deals are like really disappointing, I'm expecting to drop an Odin or two. We'll see. I don't think I'm gonna like, I don't think I'm gonna go crazy. Okay, colorblind is fine. Combo party's fine. Mm, yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious if anyone from New York City has thoughts on that. 'Cause I definitely have not been there enough to say anything. That honestly makes sense, Easy. Breadth matters more and more in this game. My controls are not feeling great today. Makes sense, Madrox. Yeah, it is nice to feel like you've already done the spending. It's not going to be a hit. That makes sense. I swear, something about dexing while unblockable just feels so much worse to me lately. Like that one was but right there. Or not unblockable, I mean unstoppable. It really throws me. I just need buff corn again. Hopefully we can grab the healer hide from this. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the leaks. That's what I'm talking about. Morning, Scarco. Nebula Toad and Hood. Yeah, I definitely hope there's like 1, 2, and 2 to 3 gems. I need to take up Hood myself. A lot of characters that I'd love to have at rank 3. But I'm also pretty excited about the rank 4s. Got some good ones in the tank. I think I'm slowly letting go of my old Abyss hatred. And I think if I end up with a rank 4 Doom, I'm actually going to let myself enjoy it. Yeah, the expanded inventory is going to be huge. I'm glad they've already announced that. Hello? Block proficiency is pretty big. Let's go. Please, Buffcorn. Boo. Um, can't say that with nerd around. Yeah, I'm assuming nerd has the boss. Long shot with counter tactics. Come on, man. But I'm not dealing with that. All right, node 1. Long shot with counter tactics. Tactics it is. Excuse me. New time zone makes me sad. I'm sorry to hear that, Meta. That said, this is not going to be normal. Everything I've done today, oh, come on, yeah, is going to be during my normal work hours in the future. Sig 200 Omega before he rank force 2. That comment's gonna age well. Somebody screenshot it. I understand that feeling, nerd. Sometimes I wish I wasn't streaming. Stupid freaking counter tactics. Bro, you're special. I will kill you this way. Longshot is such a jerk. Hey Matt, how's it going? Yeah, honestly, my most likely streaming times going forward are probably be gonna be um before noon Central Time and in the evening. I think those are the best bets. I only gotten Buffcorn once in like room two. I should have used some level one. Actually, hold on. I don't want to make a freaking decision. I wanted to back off and use some level five or some level one incursions potions that are otherwise going to expire. Okay, ghost is not going to be a problem. Yeah, I think height comes down. Sorry, sorry, Scar. I mean, maybe I'll catch you in some of my evening ones then. Matt Jones came up with a solution. Carry on. No, I have not yet. Easy. I do need to check out your Vintra stuff. That sounds very cool. Okay, let's remind ourselves. Bunch of stuff at the beginning. Fisticuffs is annoying. We'll come back. Oh, don't do that. Okay. Whew. I thought he was gonna wait for the special one and then cream me with it with like 7 prowess. Oh, that was terrifying. Get wrecked. Thinking about Tiger's my first rank 4. Mystic. Other options would be Doom, Not Awakened, Claire, Not Awakened, Diablo, Sig 160. If you're improving with her and you enjoy her, Tigra is a good rank 4, and at worst case, you could put her on defense, right? Like, worst case, she's basically an auto ban in Battlegrounds. And if you enjoy her, then it's better than that. So I don't think you're crazy. She was my first Mystic rank 4. And I would definitely take her up over unawakened champions. Um, but that said, like a high sig Diablo is also quite good with or without recoil. So if you're not comfortable with it, I don't think you have to force yourself into it either. Please give me buff corn this time. I will say, and I've said this before, one of my biggest complaints about incursions is that you don't just casually get realistic resources for them. Like the level 1 incursions potions that you get are so absurdly behind the ball that they basically don't exist. And I know they haven't actually redone them in a while, so I know it's not like that's Kabam saying, yes, this is enough. We actually think that. But man, I cannot wait for them to get updated. Yes, buff corn. All right. Well, that's going to be gross. Unfortunately, nerd, I need you to take down Void. Is that possible? If not, I can maybe swap somebody in to deal with Wasp. Take care, Shibby. Yeah, I know it's late for you. Appreciate it. Maybe. I don't blame you for that response at all. Uh, oh, I know, but they definitely were not. 'Cause I'm trying to think. Close encounters is the real issue. Yeah, like I can bring somebody to deal with masochism, but hmm. Let's see. Do I need Negs in this room? No, I don't. Yeah, I'll deal with it. So wait, let's see. What's on Void again? So the long distance relationship at least helps. Oh wait, what am I talking about? No, I want you to take down node 2 anyway. I was reading that wrong. The void nodes aren't nearly as bad. Good lord. Okay, I'm really glad you didn't just go hero mode on that. All right, I'm sticking to these. Oh, I feel like it's kind of time to drop negs. Yeah, I think I want Killmonger for these fights. Maybe mags for both wasps. My 5-star mags would not last very well here. But I think I can handle the boss. Jesus. I take that back. I think I can handle the boss if my dexes work. So much freaking damage. I've meant to block like 2 of these out of like 7. Ooh, that was dangerous. Okay. All right. Mix master. Other problems. Harry pushed a special one. Ah, sorry, nerd. No worries, that happens. Physical resistance can help with spiked armor, but her power or her attack rating is going to be so high. Give it a shot, just in cases. But definitely a good run, man. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, I missed that one. I read all the others. There it is at the bottom. I literally thought Backboard Brawler was the last node. Rip. I want everybody to process how much damage Airwalker did that quickly. And there she just got me. Oh. We're done. Rank 3, Bean. I did that a little while ago. And yeah, nerd, I'm down. Well, actually, you know what? Let's do that a bit later. I think I'm starting to feel the fatigue. I'm fine now, but in 45 minutes, I'll probably be pretty tired of streaming. There's still something there. Yeah, man, Airwalker gets really strong. Like, Incursions just... All of that stuff boosts him up a ton. He's a lot of fun. But yeah, maybe tomorrow after the after we talk about the offers and stuff. But thanks everybody. This was a fun stream. A little bit on the longer side, but I enjoyed that, the planning thing. I hope that was helpful to people. At least interesting, and thanks again for the run. I know Crom's gone and probably asleep by now, but huge thanks to him and Shibby for the super chats. Thanks to Crom for being a member. Yeah, good day. Thanks a bunch, everyone. I'll catch you later.